This etude is a workout. I mean, I guess they all are, kind of. But this one in particular challenges us in two ways: finding places to breathe and creating consistency of the constant 16th note flow. I chose a tempo around quarter note equals 112 for those two reasons exactly, in order to get a recording that is as close to what's written as possible, avoiding pausing for breaths where it might obscure the musical line. Weissenborn sets the tempo at allegro, which technically is around 120, but you should never take a tempo that forces you to go faster than you're able to get a clean, accurate performance. A good way to measure your tempo is by playing this etude at a tempo where you feel like you can get your peak accuracy of rhythm and notes, but where it also feels like you might lose the notes if you don't concentrate and look ahead. I felt this way constantly throughout this performance you just heard, but I use the changes in patterns and the rests themselves as kind of reset points to recharge my mental focus and remind myself to anticipate what was coming. It's a lot of mental work, but it's an effective tool for achieving your peak performance of any etude or solo. Remember, rather than being strictly fast, use the allegro marking as more of an encouragement to keep the pace of the 16th notes moving forward at your peak performance tempo. Here's the beginning of the etude at a slower tempo with the same goals in mind: finding places to breathe and creating consistency of the constant 16th note flow. If you've ever taken any kind of audition before, especially for college, all-state ensembles, or maybe a youth orchestra program, you've probably been asked for either two contrasting solos or a lyrical and a technical etude. This particular Weissenborn etude is absolutely in the technical category. While it does have a great sense of musicality and chordal structure that shouldn't go unnoticed, I would recommend practicing this without any musical feeling whatsoever. The more rock steady your air support and flow, embouchure, flexibility, and fingering patterns are, the more effective your performance of this etude will be. A quick tip for planning out breathing: make sure you're playing this at a comfortable mezzo forte dynamic. Any louder and you'll use too much air too fast and won't make it to the next phrase break. Any softer and the notes may not speak clearly. No matter what pattern of notes you're playing, keep the dynamic, and therefore the airflow, at a machine-like consistency. There are some tricky passages in this etude. In measure 13, there's a tricky jump up from middle C sharp to middle A. What makes this tricky is transitioning the left thumb from the C sharp key to the A or C vent key for the A, whichever one you use. I personally use the C key for the A, and this little jump absolutely needs that vent key to be able to speak clearly. Practice this transition in fingerings only, without playing, to make sure you're moving quick enough and hitting the right keys. It is possible to make this work, even at my performance tempo. It just takes practice. Measure 18 has a 2-octave jump down between Ds. The only way to make this super clear is to be flexible in your voicing and keep your throat relaxed. If you pinch your embouchure at all going up the F major scale in measure 17, you'll have more trouble getting a clean attack and being in tune on that low D in measure 18. Try relating that low D leap to the feeling you had during the low F leap in measure 17. This will help you anticipate the physical change that needs to happen. Measures 22 through 24 are the most challenging of this etude, mainly because of the octave leaps between Ds and B flats. Practice both leaps individually. Measure 22, beat 1, D to B flat. And measure 22, beat 2, D to D. You may feel the urge to cheat and tongue those high notes. Don't do it. Weissenborn specifically wrote slurs where he did to challenge you as a bassoonist. Because both Ds technically have the same fingering, you'll need to flick the high D with the C or D key in order to get it to speak clearly. If you don't have a D key, you can use the C key, but it will change the pitch if you hold it down too long, so be very quick. You can skip venting the B flat directly after the high D on beat 2. This is a little cheat that works in this kind of situation because both the D and the B flat are in the same register. The B flat should speak just fine as long as you get the high D to speak clearly first. A creative way to practice these 3 measures is by phrasing it differently. Find the phrase by playing through the passage slowly, pausing after certain notes to see if that phrasing makes sense to you. For example, the music is written in clear groupings of 4/16 notes. Let's try that phrasing first. Now, let's try a different phrasing. I'll pause after the first 2/16 notes in each grouping. That phrasing makes more sense to my ear. To me, it sounds like cascading arpeggios and fragments of scales. When you perform this in real time, you won't actually be playing the phrasing this way, but it should help your brain make sense of the notes in a horizontal way rather than trying to create vertical accuracy of each note individually.